You are on HOA nuisance files. The tow driver took one look and still tried to hook it. The tow hook clanked under my bumper, and Judith screamed that I was in violation for leaving snow piled at the curb, and if I did not move it right now, the truck was taking my car. You pushed snow into the street, and that is a violation with a fee. Her voice cut through the wind like a blade. I stood there in my tan parka with snow stinging my face and watched her pink beanie bob as she jabbed her finger at the pile of slush I had cleared from my driveway 20 minutes earlier. The tow driver stood behind her with his arms crossed, looking bored, while flurries whipped sideways across the Forest Glen Reserve Association entrance sign. This was Bradenton, Florida. We do not get snow here. Ever. But a freak winter storm had dumped 6 inches overnight and turned our development into a frozen war zone, and Judith Jones, gate access administrator and self-appointed winter compliance czar, was using it as an excuse to come after me. I just moved in 3 weeks ago. I work as a realtor who knows the neighborhood rules too well, which is exactly why I knew this was garbage. I had read the covenants front to back before I closed. There was nothing about snow removal because nobody expected snow in Bradenton. But Judith did not care. She had her lanyard with vendor fobs and a gate fob swinging around her neck like a badge of authority, and she was holding a slip of paper between us that she claimed was a tow authorization. I could not read the text on it from where I stood, but I could see her smug smile. Make it public. I love watching people get embarrassed. That was what she said, loud enough for the couple on the porch across the street to hear. They were watching this whole thing like it was a show, coffee mugs in hand. I raised my hand to slow this down. Judith, I cleared my driveway exactly the way the county guidelines say. I pushed the snow to the curb, not into the street. That pile is on the grass strip between my driveway and the sidewalk. She shook her head so hard her beanie almost flew off. Wrong. The HOA sent out an emergency snow compliance notice at 6 this morning. You were supposed to move snow to your backyard or bag it. Piling it at the curb creates a public hazard and blocks drainage. I blinked at her. Bag it? Snow? She nodded like this was the most reasonable thing in the world. You had until 8. It is now 8:17. Your car is in violation for being parked in a driveway with unresolved snow placement issues. I felt my jaw tighten. I never got a notice. I checked my email, the community portal, and the group text. Nothing. Judith smiled wider. The notice went out on the official snow compliance hotline. You should have signed up. I stared at her. What hotline? She tapped her phone screen, but I could not see what was on it. The one I set up last night when the storm started. It is the only approved communication channel for winter emergencies. If you did not register, that is on you. The tow driver cleared his throat. Lady, I need a signed authorization from the HOA president or the management company. You got that? Judith pulled a folded paper from her coat pocket and handed it to him. He unfolded it, squinted, and looked at me. This says emergency winter enforcement. You the owner? I nodded. He handed the paper back to Judith. I am going to need to see his violation notice and a copy of the rule. Judith's smile flickered. I have the authority to authorize tows under emergency protocols. The driver shrugged. Cool. Show me the protocols. She stared at him like he had just insulted her mother. I could not afford this. I just moved in and I cannot afford to lose the place or get dragged into court. My previous landlord had kept my entire deposit over a bogus carpet cleaning fee, and I was still paying off the moving truck. If Judith towed my car, the fees alone would wreck me. So I pulled out my phone and opened the camera. I am recording this. Judith, what is the exact rule I violated and where is it written? She flinched at the word recording but recovered fast. You are on HOA property. You cannot record without board approval. I shook my head. I am on a public street. The tow truck is on a public street. My car is in my driveway. Record away, she snapped. I do not negotiate with winter violations. The driver looked between us and sighed. I am going to call my dispatch and get clarification. He walked back to his truck and climbed into the cab. Judith turned to me with her arms crossed. You think you are smart. You think because you are a realtor you can rules lawyer your way out of this. But the board gave me full enforcement discretion during weather emergencies, and that includes immediate towing for public safety hazards. I kept my phone camera on her. Show me the notice. Show me the rule. Show me the board resolution that gave you that power. She pulled her phone out again and tapped furiously. I will forward you the email chain. What is your address? I told her. She tapped some more, then looked up. Sent. Check your spam folder, it might have gone there since you are not on the hotline. I checked my email. Nothing. I checked spam. Nothing. I refreshed 3 times while the wind tried to rip my phone out of my hand. Judith watched me with a look that made my skin crawl. Did you get it? No. She frowned, tapped her phone again. Resent. Still nothing. She tilted her head like she was talking to a child. Maybe your email is broken. Not my problem. The rule is in effect whether you got the notice or not. That is how emergency enforcement works. The tow driver climbed back out and walked over. My dispatch says I need documentation from the management company or a police report for emergency tows. You got either? Judith's face went red. This is an HOA matter. We do not need police involvement. The driver shrugged again. Then I need a work order from the management company. Judith opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I am calling the HOA president right now. She turned away and dialed. I heard her say we have a situation at the north entrance, and then she walked far enough away that I could not hear the rest. The driver looked at me. You the guy who just moved in? I nodded. He grunted. Yeah, I heard about you. Word at the gate vendor office is someone put a flag on your address. What kind of flag? He shrugged. Access flag. Usually means someone complained about you and they want extra eyes. I felt my stomach drop. I have been here 3 weeks. I have not done anything. He scratched his jaw. Sometimes it does not matter. Some boards just do not like new people. He glanced at Judith, who was still on the phone, gesturing wildly. She runs the gate codes, right? Yeah. He nodded slowly. That explains it. If she flagged your address, every vendor who uses the gate system gets a notification. Tow companies, lawn services, inspectors, delivery drivers. Makes it easier to target someone if the whole network is watching. Judith marched back over. The president is reviewing the situation. In the meantime, the tow stays on hold. But you need to move that snow pile within the hour or the tow happens regardless. She jabbed her finger at the slush mound again. 1 hour. I will be back to verify compliance. And if you file a complaint about this interaction, I will make sure every vendor in this development knows you are a problem resident. She turned to the driver. Unhook the car. We will circle back. The driver looked at me, then at her, then back at me. He unhooked the tow arm without a word and climbed back into his truck. Judith walked to her car, a red sedan parked at the curb with Forest Glen Reserve Association vinyl lettering on the door, and drove off. The tow truck followed. I stood there in the snow with my heart pounding and watched the couple on the porch go back inside. The frosted photos clipped to a board at the clubhouse entrance caught my eye as I walked past. Community event snapshots from summer barbecues and pool parties, all smiling faces and sunshine. None of them showed snow. None of them showed Judith screaming at residents. I pulled my phone out and called my real estate mentor Tom, who sold properties in Forest Glen for 15 years before he retired. He picked up on the second ring. "Tom, I need help. I just got threatened with a tow over snow placement and I never got a notice." He was quiet for a second. "Judith?" "Yeah." He sighed. "She has been doing this for 2 years. Ever since she got the gate access role, she has been using vendor connections to harass people she does not like. Have you pushed back on anything yet?" I told him about the group text I sent last week asking why my gate code was not working. He groaned. "That is it. She hates it when people question access issues because it makes her look incompetent. Now she is going after you." "What do I do?" He thought for a moment. "Document everything. Get a dash cam if you do not have one already. And request copies of every notice, every rule, and every board resolution she references. Make her prove it is real. If she cannot, file a complaint with the management company and copy the board president." I thanked him and hung up. Then I went inside, grabbed my laptop, and started drafting emails. I sent one to the Forest Glen Reserve Association Management Company asking for a copy of the emergency snow compliance notice, the rule Judith referenced, and the board resolution giving her enforcement authority. I sent another one to the HOA president, a guy named Ed who I met once at closing, asking for clarification on towing procedures. Then I went back outside with a snow shovel and started moving the pile. If Judith wanted it gone, I would move it. Not because she was right, but because I needed time to build a case and I could not afford to give her an easy excuse to tow my car. It took me 40 minutes to shovel the slush into my backyard. My arms were burning, and my boots were soaked through by the time I finished. I checked my phone. No response from the management company. No response from Ed. But I had 3 new emails from an address I did not recognize, all with the subject line Winter Compliance Hotline Advisory. I opened the first one. It was dated 6/14 this morning and it said all residents must clear snow to backyard or bag and remove by 8. Violations subject to immediate enforcement. No signature, no board letterhead, just plain text. The second email was identical but sent at 6:23. The third was sent at 7:41 and said final warning, tow trucks dispatched. I stared at the screen. The emails were not from the HOA domain. They were from a Gmail account called forestglensnow@gmail.com. I checked the headers. They were sent from Judith's phone. She had set up a fake compliance hotline and sent herself authority to tow my car. I took screenshots of everything and forwarded them to Tom. He called me back 2 minutes later. "This is gold. She is impersonating HOA authority. Forward those to the management company and the board president right now. Demand an emergency hearing. If they do not respond, file a complaint with the state." I did exactly that. I sent the screenshots to the management company and Ed with a short message. Judith Jones is sending fake compliance notices from a personal email address and using them to authorize tows. This is fraud. I demand an immediate hearing and a written apology. I hit send and waited. 20 minutes later, my gate code stopped working. I tried to leave for a grocery run and the arm would not lift. I entered my code 3 times. Nothing. I tried the backup code Tom told me to set up. Nothing. I called the gate vendor number on the sign. A bored woman answered. Forest Glen Gate Support. I explained the situation. She put me on hold, came back. Your access has been temporarily suspended pending a compliance review. I felt my hands tighten on the steering wheel. What compliance review? She sighed like she had this conversation a dozen times a day. HOA flagged your account. You will need to contact your board. I asked her who flagged it. She would not say. I asked her when it happened. She said 23 minutes ago, right after I sent the email. I drove to the pedestrian gate and walked out. Then I called Tom again. He was furious. That is retaliation. Document the exact time, take photos of the gate screen and file another complaint. And call a lawyer. This is going beyond petty HOA drama. This is targeted harassment. I took his advice. I snapped photos of the gate keypad showing the red access denied light. I wrote down the timeline. I looked up HOA attorneys in Bradenton and called the first one with good reviews. Her name was Linda Chen and she picked up on the third ring. I explained everything in 5 minutes. She was quiet when I finished. Do you have documentation? I said yes. She asked me to forward it. I sent her the fake compliance emails, the gate access timeline, the photos, and Tom's notes. She called me back an hour later. This is textbook HOA abuse. I can file a demand letter and threaten a lawsuit, but it will cost you up front and the HOA will drag it out. Or we can go public. Public how? She paused. Request a special meeting under your state statute. Demand they produce all records related to winter enforcement and gate access flags. If they refuse or stonewall, file a public records request. Once the documents come out, you will have everything you need to prove retaliation and fraud. Most boards fold when they realize their dirty laundry is about to go public. If you are enjoying this chaos, hit the like button and subscribe, because this story is about to get even messier. I thanked Linda and told her I would think about it. Then I went back inside and started drafting a special meeting request. Florida law says any homeowner can demand a special meeting with 14 days' notice if they get 10% of the community to sign a petition. Forest Glen had 200 units. I needed 20 signatures. I printed out a petition form, bundled up, and started knocking on doors. The first 3 people I talked to were sympathetic but scared. We have heard about Judith. She will come after you if you sign anything. The 4th person, an older man named Rick, who lived 2 streets over, actually laughed. About time someone stood up to her. She tried to fine me last year for parking my truck in my own driveway. Said it was a commercial vehicle. It is a Ford F-150. I bought it at a dealership. He signed immediately and told me to talk to his neighbors. By the end of the day, I had 31 signatures. I scanned the petition and emailed it to the management company and the board president with a formal demand for a special meeting to address winter enforcement policies and gate access abuse. That night, I got an email from the management company. Your petition has been received. The board will schedule a special meeting within 14 days as required. We will notify you of the date and time. Separate email, same timestamp. Your gate access has been restored pending the outcome of the compliance review. I tried my code. The gate opened. I felt a tiny flicker of hope. Maybe this would actually work. Maybe I could force Judith and the board to back down before this got worse. I was wrong. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. 16 missed calls. 42 text messages. I opened the group text thread. It was chaos. Someone had sent a message to the entire Forest Glen community list claiming I was organizing a hostile takeover of the HOA and trying to remove Judith for doing her job. The message included my name, my address, and a photo of my house with the caption, "This is the guy causing problems." I felt my stomach drop. I scrolled through the replies. Half the community was defending me. The other half was calling me entitled, disrespectful, and a troublemaker. One person said I should be fined for harassment. Another said I should move if I did not like the rules. I called Tom. He told me to screenshot everything and forward it to Linda. I did. She called me back within the hour. This is defamation and harassment. We can add it to the demand letter. But you need to be prepared for this to get uglier before it gets better. Boards like this do not go down quietly. She was right. 2 days later, I got a certified letter from the management company. It said I was being fined $500 for unauthorized community organizing and distributing unapproved petitions. The letter cited a rule I had never seen before, something about needing board approval for any printed materials distributed to residents. I called Linda immediately. She laughed when I read it to her. That rule is unenforceable. You have a First Amendment right to petition your government, and HOAs are quasi-governmental. File a response denying the fine and citing your constitutional rights. I will draft it for you. She sent me a template an hour later. I filled it out, printed it, and mailed it certified. Then I got another letter. This one said my sidewalk was not cleared to HOA standards, and I was being fined $200 per day until it was resolved. I looked outside. My sidewalk was clear. There was no snow or ice anywhere. I took photos with timestamps and sent them to Linda. She added it to the file. The special meeting was scheduled for a Tuesday night at 7. The management company sent out a notice with the agenda. It included my petition topics, winter enforcement policies, and gate access procedures, but it also included a new item at the end. Discussion of resident conduct violations and potential suspension of privileges. I knew exactly who that was aimed at. I called Tom. He told me to stay calm, bring all my documentation, and let the evidence speak for itself. I also called Rick, the guy who signed my petition first. He said he would be there, and he would bring others. On the day of the meeting, I printed 3 copies of every email, every photo, every timeline, and every fake compliance notice Judith had sent. I put them in a binder with tabs and brought a box of extra copies in case anyone wanted them. I also brought my dashcam memory card case, even though I had not recorded anything with the dashcam yet. I wanted it visible. I wanted Judith to see it, and know I was ready. The meeting was held in the clubhouse community room. When I walked in, the place was packed. Easily 100 people crammed into a space meant for 60. Judith was sitting at a folding table at the front with Ed, the board president, and 2 other board members I did not recognize. She had a laptop open in front of her, and a microphone clipped to her collar. The frosted photos clipped to a board at the clubhouse entrance were right behind her, smiling summer memories that felt like a sick joke now. I sat in the back row next to Rick. He leaned over and whispered, "They are scared. Look at their faces." He was right. Ed looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. The other board members kept glancing at Judith like they were waiting for her to tell them what to do. Ed called the meeting to order and read through the standard opening procedures. Then he got to my petition. We have received a request to discuss winter enforcement policies and gate access procedures. The floor is open for comments. I stood up. I would like to start by presenting evidence that Judith Jones has been operating a fake compliance hotline and using it to send unauthorized enforcement notices. I pulled out my binder and walked to the front. Judith's face went bright red. "Sit down. You are out of order." Ed held up his hand. "Let him speak." I handed him a copy of the fake emails. He read them, looked at Judith, and passed them to the other board members. "Judith, did you send these?" She crossed her arms. I created a supplemental communication channel to ensure residents received timely snow removal guidance. That is within my role as gate access administrator. Ed shook his head. You do not have authority to issue compliance notices or authorize tows. That is a management company function. Judith's jaw tightened. I was acting under emergency protocols. Ed frowned. What emergency protocols? Show me the resolution. Judith opened her laptop and started typing. The room was dead silent except for the clicking of her keyboard. After 2 minutes, she looked up. I am having trouble locating the exact file. It is in the shared drive. Ed stared at her. Judith, if there is no resolution, you do not have authority. Period. I saw my opening. I also have evidence that my gate access was suspended in retaliation immediately after I filed a complaint. I handed Ed the timeline and the photos. He read them and his face went pale. When did this happen? I told him the exact timestamps. He looked at the other board members. Did anyone authorize a gate suspension? They all shook their heads. He turned back to Judith. Did you suspend his access? She hesitated. I flagged his account for review due to the compliance issue. Ed closed his eyes like he was in pain. Judith, that is retaliation. We could be sued for that. Judith stood up fast enough that her chair scraped the floor. I was protecting the community. He was distributing unauthorized materials and organizing against the board. Ed raised his voice. He was exercising his legal right to petition for a meeting. You do not get to punish residents for that. The room erupted. People started shouting questions. Why did Judith have unilateral access control? Why were residents being fined without notice? Who approved the winter enforcement rules? Ed tried to calm everyone down, but it was too late. Judith grabbed the microphone and her voice boomed through the speakers. You all need to understand that I have been keeping this community safe while the rest of you sit back and complain. I enforce the rules. I make sure people follow the covenants. If you do not like it, you can leave. The room went silent. Then Rick stood up. Judith, you are not a cop. You are a volunteer. And you have been abusing your position to bully people you do not like. I have lived here for 8 years, and I have watched you drive out 3 families with your petty enforcement garbage. It ends tonight. Judith's face went from red to purple. You do not get to talk to me like that. Ed stood up and tried to take the microphone from her. Judith, sit down. We need to move forward with the agenda. She yanked the microphone away. No. I am not sitting down until everyone here understands that this man, she pointed at me, is trying to destroy everything I have built. He moved in 3 weeks ago, and he thinks he can waltz in and change the rules. Well, he cannot. I run the gate system. I run the compliance hotline. And I decide who gets to stay and who gets towed. The room exploded again. People were yelling over each other. Someone shouted that is illegal. Someone else yelled call the police. Ed grabbed the microphone cable and unplugged it. Judith's voice cut off mid-sentence. She stared at him, stunned. Ed turned to the crowd. This meeting is out of order. We are going to take a 10-minute recess and reconvene with a structured discussion. Everyone stay calm. But I was not done. I raised my voice loud enough to carry without a microphone. I have one more thing. I pulled out my dashcam memory card case and held it up. I recorded my interaction with Judith and the tow truck driver. I also have a statement from the driver confirming that Judith could not provide proper authorization for the tow. If anyone wants to see the footage, I will make it available. Judith lunged across the table toward me. You are lying. You are making this up. Ed grabbed her arm. Judith, stop. She shook him off and turned to the crowd. He is lying. There is no recording. I never authorized an illegal tow. Make it public, I said, repeating her own words back to her. I love watching people get embarrassed. Her face went white. She stared at me like I had just slapped her. Then she grabbed her laptop, shoved it into her bag, and stormed out of the room. The door slammed behind her so hard the frosted photos on the board rattled. Ed stood there, looking shell-shocked. The other board members were whispering to each other. Rick started clapping. Then someone else joined in. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Ed held up his hands. Okay. Okay. Let us reconvene. Everyone sit down. It took 5 minutes to get the room quiet again. Ed cleared his throat. Based on what we have seen tonight, the board is going to launch an internal investigation into gate access procedures and winter enforcement actions. In the meantime, Judith Jones is suspended from all HOA duties pending the outcome of that investigation. We will also be requesting a full audit of vendor authorizations and compliance records. If anyone else has experienced similar issues, please submit a written complaint to the management company within the next 10 days. The meeting is adjourned. People swarmed me as I tried to leave. Some wanted to shake my hand. Some wanted copies of my documentation. Some just wanted to vent about their own run-ins with Judith. Rick clapped me on the shoulder. You did it. You actually did it. I did not feel victorious yet. I felt exhausted. But I also felt something else. Hope. For the first time since I moved in, I felt like I might actually be able to live here without looking over my shoulder. The next morning, I got an email from the management company. The internal investigation had been expedited due to additional complaints. Apparently, 12 other residents had come forward overnight with stories of Judith abusing gate access, sending fake notices, and retaliating against anyone who questioned her. The management company forwarded everything to the board with a recommendation to remove Judith from all roles immediately, and refer the matter to an attorney for potential legal action. 2 days later, Ed called me personally. He apologized for not catching Judith's behavior sooner, and said the board had voted unanimously to strip her of all duties, including gate access administration. They also voted to dissolve the fake snow compliance hotline and issue a formal apology to me and the other affected residents. The towing fine was voided. The sidewalk fine was voided. My gate suspension was expunged from the records. But I was not satisfied yet. I called Linda and asked her what came next. She said I had grounds for a civil suit against Judith personally for defamation, harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. But she also said something else. If you want real change, push for a governance reform. Make the board adopt transparent procedures, term limits, and an independent audit process. That way, another Judith cannot happen. I liked that idea. I drafted a proposal and submitted it to the board. Rick helped me gather signatures again. This time, we got 140. The board scheduled another special meeting to vote on the reforms. Judith did not show up. Neither did her supporters. The reforms passed unanimously. 3 weeks after the first meeting, I got a call from Tom. He said the gate vendor company had done their own audit and found that Judith had been manually flagging accounts for over a year. Not just mine. Dozens of residents. She had created a shadow enforcement system that bypassed the board entirely. The vendor company terminated their contract with Forest Glen and refunded 6 months of fees. The board used that money to hire a new management company with better oversight. Judith sent one final email to the community list before her access was cut off. It said I had destroyed her reputation and she would never forgive me. I deleted it without responding. I did not need her forgiveness. I needed her gone. And she was. The snow melted within a week. Bradenton went back to being Bradenton, warm and humid and green. The frosted photos at the clubhouse entrance were replaced with new ones from a spring festival. I saw my face in one of them, standing next to Rick and a few other residents, all of us holding paper plates and smiling. It felt surreal. A month ago, I was getting screamed at in a snowstorm by a woman with a lanyard and a power trip. Now I was part of the community. Now I had friends. Now I had a voice. The board issued a final report on the investigation. It confirmed that Judith had been operating outside her authority for over 2 years. She had sent fake notices to at least 30 residents. She had suspended gate access for 17 people without board approval. She had authorized 4 tows that were later deemed improper. The report recommended that the HOA drop any remaining enforcement actions related to Judith's tenure to avoid a public records mess. The board accepted the recommendation. All pending fines were voided. All suspensions were lifted. The slate was wiped clean. Judith moved out 2 months later. I heard through the neighborhood grapevine that she was trying to sell her unit, but could not find a buyer because word had spread about what she did. Eventually, she rented it out and disappeared. I never saw her again. But I still think about that morning in the snow sometimes. The tow hook clanking under my bumper, her screaming about violations, the couple on the porch watching like it was a show. I think about how close I came to just giving up and moving out. And I think about what Tom told me after it was all over. Sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is to force it into the light. Make it public. Make it uncomfortable. Make people see what is really happening. That is what I did. And it worked. The reforms we passed are still in place. The board meets every month and posts the minutes online within 48 hours. Gate access is managed by an independent vendor with quarterly audits. Compliance enforcement requires written notices with 7 days to respond before any fines are issued. And no single person can authorize a tow without board approval and documentation. Forest Glen is not perfect. No HOA is. But it is better. And I am still here. I am still fighting when I need to. I am still keeping receipts. Because that is what you do when you live in a place like this. You document. You organize. You stand up. And when someone like Judith comes along and tries to turn the HOA into her personal fiefdom, you make sure the whole community sees exactly what she is doing. You make it public. You love watching her get embarrassed. And when the room turns on her, when her smug smile vanishes and the minutes turn against her, you let the system do what it was supposed to do all along. You let the truth win. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.